Hey, this is Scott of photography.bonza.com. Today I'm going to do another photo excursion video. This was in early April of 2012. A friend and I went to our downtown in the nighttime, took some interesting night city photos. So I'll first talk about the equipment that I used, some of the bad photos and some of the better photos. I was using a Pentax K-5 with a 14mm f2.8 lens. Settings wise, I was using program mode with some negative exposure compensation. I was also using aperture priority mode. Worked pretty decently, but sometimes the camera decided to go for slow shutter speeds, which, you get some blur with that. Just going for something simple though, I didn't want to micromanage my settings most of the time. So here are some of the lower quality photos. See, this one's blurred right off the bat, and framing wise looks slightly tilted. The tilt could be fixed pretty easily, but blur is not something you easily fix in post-processing. Here's another one. I took multiple exposures of various scenes. This was one of the least liked out of this specific scene, but it is an interesting photo with the moon and then a reflection down here. Similar situation. I'll show you the better photo later, but this rail here, I don't like how I frame that. It's off to the side. Not too interesting. Another location, really interesting building, but these specific photos, I didn't like the framing that much. Another challenging situation, there was a cat in this small shop. It was really challenging to focus on it in those dark lighting situations, and the cat was moving around quite a bit. This one turned out kind of interesting, but the problem there is the focus. I can see some blur, either from shutter speed or movement of my hands or something. Some lens flare. Not too terrible, but you could definitely challenge in the nighttime situations with blur. Also did some multiple exposures for HDR, and then you just get lots of junk from those sometimes. Also, some situations I had to go really high high ISO, which means lots of grain in the photo. This was 6400. Not too terrible, but definitely you can see the grain. So that's about it for the bad photos. Let's go to the better ones now. So this is one of my favorites of the photo session. You can see really interesting lighting, nice colors to the lighting itself in some of the buildings. Let's open up this in camera raw. Pretty sharp, considering. You could probably use some noise reduction, but overall I think it looks very nice. Okay, this interesting building. Nice strong lines to it. Also like this blue coming from the window. More colored lighting. Another structural photo. This one turned out pretty interesting. Pretty symmetrical framing. You got the two trees and then the moon right in the center. Normally you wouldn't want to put the subject in the center, but I think in this case it works pretty nicely. Let's keep going. Really interesting lighting to this. Framing is not that great, but I really love that area right here with this tree. Here's that great area with the small, I believe it was some type of trolley building. You've got the moon in the background, and then person to provide scale. That helps a lot with having a really dynamic photo. More of that as the last. This could use some noise reduction, obviously. But overall, I like the framing of that specific photo. Here I was using a LED flashlight to shine on this. These are water spouts, and in the summer they run those. And this is great here, the water goes down in that. Here I was also using the flashlight to shine it on this sign. More specifically in this one, it's got that really interesting tone to the image. Let's do that in this one as well. Standing on the rail. Now this was naturally colored this way. Like it was actually some of the paint on the building or possibly lighting. Nice simple building photo, but I like the angle that I chose in that situation. And here's the cat again, with better focus. Sharpness is decent, it's still not that great, but definitely better photo than the other one. There's a nice... I could see this being in some type of movie or something. And you've got the back alley scene that works really nicely with that feel. Let's see here. There's one with a rail that I had shown previously. Here we go. So if you remember earlier, there was a photo with the rail. It was coming from this lower right angle. You could barely see it. This time I got really close to the rail itself. And the 14mm f2.8 lens focuses nicely up close. So I focused about right here. And it seems a lot more interesting to me. So that was it for that little photo excursion. Thanks.